Hi, I'm Geoff Cobham. I'm the Artistic Director of Patch Theatre. We make work for children from the ages of 4 to 8. I've been working in design for the last 40 years, primarily in theatre and primarily using light as the foundation of my work. Starting mainly in dance and then into theatre, festivals, events, and I've also been lucky enough to light things like freeways and bridges. My whole career has been shaped around light, and now I'm taking my love of light into my love of children's theatre and producing works that are design-led. My aim is to make abstract art for young audiences so that they can put themselves at the centre of it and tell their story of it. Today I'm going to talk about 3 productions that I've been involved with Patch Theatre. I've been at Patch Theatre for 3 years, and the first show we made is called Zoom. Zoom is a story about a girl who meets a little ember of light that comes to visit her in the night. This little ember of light is extended into a line of light and eventually becomes an animation, and eventually she becomes part of the world of the light. It's not a particularly narrative story, it's fairly abstract, but it is basically a joyous exploration of light and play. Although Zoom is an exploration of all different sorts of light, including laser, projection, moving lights, UV, it only uses 7 main lights in the whole show. It's the way we use the lights and the lights that we choose that are very flexible and have enormous control. The projection in the show is rear projected onto scrims, and we allow the light to fall through the scrim as well and to fall out and envelop the audience. We always use haze in our shows so that we can see the full beam of light, because as we know, we can only see light when it hits something. So haze is our best friend in the lighting world. The performer in Zoom, her role is to be a guide for the audience. She's not just telling her story, she's telling their story, because they are seeing themselves in her. She goes on this exploration with this little dot of light, and she eventually goes into the animation and becomes part of their world. The show also continues to the point where the audience, who are all given a light before the show, also become part of the light and part of the show. I love using laser lights because they give me such enormous control of the light. It's down to the millimeter. So being able to control a beam like that allows us to do some really magical things. In our work, we always try to keep things like the laser even at a human scale. So the performer controls or seems to be in control of the laser. We find that it's no use doing these big lighting gestures and big technical gestures if they're not at a human scale still, or seen to be controlled at a human scale. So in our show, the laser extends right out over the audience and is like a sea of light above them, but she's still controlling it or seeming to control it, which in the audience's mind gives them the sense that they are in control of it as well, because they see themselves in her. We have amazing collaborators we work with, lots of other artists from around South Australia, and Luku is a very talented animator who is able to work very closely with our team. We develop the work together. All of our work is devised. There are no storybooks we start from and no scripts, and Luku is involved from day one, and his animations evolve as the show evolves. In this piece, the performer draws the animations. She's not actually drawing them, but Luku has made them so that they appear on the screen. She's able to appear to be drawing the animation, so the animation comes out of the performer. From watching children in theatre, it's not a natural place for them to be sitting still for 50 minutes. So the next piece we made is called The Lighthouse, and The Lighthouse is a promenade piece of theatre. It's 5 chambers of light that 30 people at a time move through. It's immersive in that the audience move from chamber to chamber and they experience the performances. They are part of the performance. There are guides in each room, but basically the audience experience each room as a group. Every 20 minutes there's a new group go in, and every 10 minutes they all change rooms. Each room is a wonderland of lighting and is also extremely different to the room before. There is an emotional narrative through the whole piece, but there There is no linear narrative. I have a story of what I think it's about, but every audience member tells me a different story, and that makes me very happy. Making Lighthouse was a very long process and involved many collaborators, and technology was certainly one of them. When I think of technology, I think of it more as science, because it's not always the technology, it's the actual wonder of the technology that I love and that inspires me to make work. So I'm not always thinking about the technology itself, I'm thinking about the science of what the technology does. We have so many different types of work within Lighthouse because we're thinking about what it's like to be in each of those scapes ourselves and what it's like to be a child and experience that science and technology. For example, what I consider to still be technology is that in one of our rooms we have mist. This is one of the favourite rooms of the children, and it's a $24 misting system from Bunnings. The mist allows me to use it as haze and I project a lot of light through it that does beautiful things. But the beauty of that room is mist, and mist is a thing that kids understand, they know what rain is, but to have it happen inside is the magic of that room. We collaborate with all sorts of different people, and one of our collaborators is a bubble engineer. This man makes bubbles for a living, and by bubbles I mean soap bubbles, and he designed for us a system that enables us to lift a 6-metre column of bubble up into the air. It's a hoop that is dropped into a very special recipe of soap material, and he won't tell me the exact recipe, it's a secret. Then we simply pull that up, and the reflection of light and the play of light in it is a thing of wonder, and it's the finale of the piece, the magical moment of inexplicable beauty. And it doesn't matter that we all know how it works and we all know what a bubble is. To see the grandeur of it is the magic. And that's science, and that is technology. The mix of that bubble, the makeup of the hoop and how it holds the bubble, all of those things, that's technology to me. Yet I think we often think of technology as being something with a computer on board. But from my experience, the things that I bring from the analog science world and the old analog theatre world into using the new technologies are the things that are probably the most powerful in our work. Our latest work for gallery installations is a piece called Sea of Light. The technology in this piece is very unusual and very simple, but also has a really beautiful elegance because of its simplicity. Basically, it's a floor of luminescent vinyl. This is the sort of vinyl that you might use in your children's bedroom. They might have some glow-in-the-dark stars. It's literally just that glow-in-the-dark material. The children are given torches that look like brushes that are ultraviolet, and with those they are able to paint in light on the floor. There are boats that they can push around that have UV lights under them that leave a wake, and there's some stencils that they can use to colour in with their torches. There's also a moving light that creates a spirograph pattern on the floor as well. All these elements are very simple and all rely on that one bit of science that allows the luminescence to be charged by the UV and release that light back out. All their drawings only last for 3 minutes, and then you can just keep drawing over and over and over. It requires no power, it just gets put in a room, we just lay the floor and then add children. It's a super powerful piece, and we thought that children would last 10 to 15 minutes in there. We have to drag them out after 30 minutes. Another example of analog technology is an igloo of mirror, and the children crawl into this mirror and there's mirror on the floor, mirror all around, and basically they find themselves inside a mirror ball because they can see themselves for infinity in a ball of mirror. There is a simple remote in there that they're allowed to play with that changes the colour of the lights so that they have agency, and that is one of the most powerful things, and it's really just a simple room with mirrors. Our process of devising a show or an installation is design-led. This is quite unusual, but this is what makes our design and technology organic to the work. I work with the designers and technical team, and we play with equipment, with ideas in a room for 3 months before we get to the rehearsal process. The next thing we add is the makers. They are often the performers, but sometimes they're just people who specialise in making work. Together we bring these design provocations to them, and they play with them and work out little scenarios and little scenes from these design elements. So the design is the starting point, the leaping off point for making our work. The next thing we add is children. We let them play with the equipment, we let them play with the idea, and we let them watch us play with the idea, and we watch through their eyes to see which bit of what we're doing makes sense to them and resonates with them. And it's often not the thing that we think is important. Many times we have learnt that the thing that we've spent all the time and money on is not the important thing to them. The important thing is the little detail that they have latched onto and that makes sense to them. So it's very important to us to involve the design early on in the process, the makers, and then the children. A sort of an epiphany moment with a very amazing group of children, and they were playing with me one day with lights, and I was hiding a remote control from them and using it to make lights change colour and do magical things. And then after a while I actually just gave them the remote and showed them how it worked, and it made no difference to the magic of the piece at all. I thought that would destroy the whole wonder of it, but I'd forgotten that a remote is a magical thing. So, you know, without their involvement and their seeing it through their eyes, I wouldn't have known that it's almost a Brechtian device, that in revealing how it works, you actually make it even more powerful. All of our shows and our experiences have the audience at their centre. For example, in Zoom, as our audience enter the space, they're all given a little radio-controlled light, and it is red, green, blue LED. So we can control the colour, the flash, the speed of it, the dimming of it. But within the show, the children believe that they are in control of this light. They are able to blow on it and it will change colour. They're able to throw it across onto the stage and it will change the colour of the stage. So this magical moment for them, we don't reveal this till halfway through. It starts the show as a nightlight that looks after them. And they often come out and tell me that they have controlled the show and that they've made the lights work. That true connection to them and that breaking of the fourth wall in such a strong way that they are in control is the secret to the power of that piece of work. I don't see a barrier between art and technology. To me, they're the same thing. They're really just science, and science and art are very, very similar. All the great discoveries in science are made by super creative moments. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. You know, it's once you start to see that science is art, there's no barrier at all. I'm very fortunate in that I have a technical background, and now I'm in a position where I'm the director, the production manager, and the designer of our company. Being in those three roles makes for amazing synergy in our work, in that I'm able to control what we spend money on, which artists we work with, what technologies we explore, and how we use them in the final product. So it's about not being scared of technology, and maybe the word technology is a word that is loaded and we should stop using it and just use the word science. The wonder of the universe is what makes our work good, and it's the way things work that is fascinating to me and to 5-year-olds. We work with lots of teachers as well. Teachers struggle to be able to connect art and technology. They don't have the time or the resources. But the schools that do are the ones that are able to connect to art, and they have the teachers who take the time, who have the support of their principal and the government to spend time and money on art and technology and connecting their children to the arts. We're very fortunate at Patch to have secured a 4-year funding. There's not many companies in Australia anymore making work for young people who have that sort of ongoing commitment. In 2022, there are 3 companies making work for young people who had 4-year funding. We need to fund these companies. It's not a lot of money to be able to do the work we do, and we have an amazing impact. Our company's been going for 50 years and has seen 2 million children. In that time, we've inspired many children to not just to be artists, to actually use creativity in all walks of their life. You know, I think all the best scientists and all the best communicators are people who embrace the arts.